You've been wondering why certain people suddenly disappeared from your life. Maybe it was a friend who stopped calling, a partner who walked away without explanation, a family member who created distance you never asked for. And no matter how much you replayed the moments, you couldn't figure out what went wrong. Here's what you need to understand. It wasn't random, it wasn't punishment, and it definitely wasn't about your worth. Sometimes God removes people from your life because keeping them there would have destroyed something inside you that you can't afford to lose. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll see the pattern you've been missing. When someone exits your world without warning, your first instinct is to blame yourself. You scan every conversation, every text, every moment where you might have said the wrong thing. But what if the removal had nothing to do with failure? What if it was protection? Some people carry energy that slowly drains your light, not because they're evil, not because they intended harm, but because their season in your life had an expiration date, and God knew you wouldn't leave on your own. You would have stayed, you would have compromised, you would have dimmed yourself trying to make it work, and that's exactly what needed to be interrupted. Think about the relationships that ended abruptly, the ones that left you confused and hurt. Now think about who you were becoming in those connections. Were you shrinking? Were you second-guessing your intuition? Were you explaining yourself in circles, trying to prove you deserve to be treated well? That's the sign. When you're constantly defending your existence to someone, you're not in alignment. You're in survival. And God doesn't call you to survive love. He calls you to thrive in it. Here's the part most people don't talk about. The removal often happens right before a major shift in your life, right before a breakthrough, right before you step into something bigger. It's like God is clearing the stage so the wrong voices don't confuse you during your most critical moment. Because some people will celebrate you in private, but undermine you in public. Some will smile while secretly hoping you stay small. And you can't carry that into your next chapter. The weight of their jealousy, their doubt, their unspoken resentment would have crushed the very thing you're being prepared for. There's a story about someone who prayed for years to fix a broken friendship. Every time they tried to reconnect, the door stayed closed. They felt rejected, abandoned, like they had done something unforgivable. Years later, they discovered that the same friend had been spreading lies about them to mutual connections, poisoning wells they didn't even know existed. The closure they wanted would have meant staying in a web of betrayal disguised as loyalty. God's silence wasn't rejection. It was a shield. Sometimes the answer to your prayer is a closed door you never stop thanking Him for. Now ask yourself 3 questions. Who in your past made you feel like you had to earn basic respect? Who made you question your reality so often that you stopped trusting yourself? Who left, and even though it hurt, you secretly felt lighter afterward? Those answers matter, because the pain of removal often distracts you from the relief that's waiting underneath. You mourn what you lost, but you don't always notice what you got back. Your peace, your clarity, your ability to hear God with interference. The second sign is this: the person who left couldn't celebrate your growth. Every time you improved, they found a way to minimize it. Every time you succeeded, they reminded you of a past failure. It wasn't obvious at first. It was subtle. A joke that stung, a comment that felt off, a silence when you needed encouragement. Over time, you started hiding your wins because sharing them felt like inviting criticism. That's not love, that's control. And God removed them so you could stop performing and start becoming. Another story. Someone once stayed in a relationship because they believed love meant endurance. They thought if they could just be patient enough, kind enough, understanding enough, things would change. But the other person wasn't growing. They were comfortable. Comfortable with taking. Comfortable with half effort. Comfortable with keeping one foot out the door while demanding full commitment. When the relationship finally ended, it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, like a door closing softly in the middle of the night. And for months, they grieved. Until one day, they realized they hadn't cried in weeks. They hadn't checked their phone, hoping for a message. They hadn't replayed old conversations trying to figure out what they missed. The absence that once felt like loss started to feel like freedom. Here's what you need to sit with. Not everyone is meant to see the fullness of who you're becoming. Some people only had access to a version of you that no longer exists. And when you outgrow that version, they can't come with you. It's not cruelty, it's order. You don't take childhood toys into adulthood.
You don't wear shoes that no longer fit, and you don't carry people into a season they're not equipped to honor. The removal is the mercy. And then something happens that most people completely miss. You start noticing the space their absence created. Space for new connections, space for self-discovery, space to hear your own voice without someone else's expectations drowning it out. The silence you feared becomes the sanctuary you needed. And you realize God wasn't taking someone away, He was making room. So what do you do with this understanding? First, stop romanticizing the past. Stop replaying the good moments as if they erase the patterns that hurt you. Nostalgia is a liar. It highlights joy and hides pain.
See the relationship for what it was, not what you wanted it to be. Second, release the need for closure from them. Closure is something you give yourself. It's the decision to stop waiting for an explanation that may never come. It's the choice to move forward, even when the ending felt incomplete. Third, pay attention to who remained. The people who stayed through your transitions. The ones who didn't need you to stay small to feel secure. Those are your people. Honor them. Fourth, thank God for the removal. Not because the person was bad, but because you were being protected from something you couldn't see. Trust that what's meant for you will never require you to beg for it. And fifth, give yourself permission to feel relief without guilt. You're allowed to be sad it ended and grateful it's over. Both can be true. Here's the closing truth. God's removal is not rejection, it's redirection. Every person who walked away created a path for someone better aligned to walk in. Every door that closed locked out chaos you didn't recognize as chaos yet. Every unanswered prayer about reconciliation was God saying, I have something better, but you have to let this go first. You are not losing, you are leveling up. And the people who belong in your next chapter will prove it by how they treat you in this one. The ones who left were never your loss. They were your lesson, and the piece you're stepping into will make that crystal clear. If this resonated, consider subscribing.